AJ Preller, President of Baseball Operations and GM. I'm not sure if you're a movie guy, AJ, but I love the movie Being John Malkovich. Came out years ago. You know, John Cusack there in his brain. I think Being AJ Preller would be a great movie. I want to get inside that brain of yours, especially here at the winter meetings. You feel like you're a guy who's always willing to make a big move. You're unafraid to make those decisions. Where does that stem from?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, I think our baseball group, our baseball ops team is open-minded, you know, and I think that's probably the biggest thing is you know, I think from like being willing to consider different possibilities. And the other thing is, you know, as an organization, we've done a great job from a scouting and development standpoint. So when you have players and you have guys, you know, up and down throughout your system, it gives, you know, it gives myself and others in the front office a chance to have some different options. If you don't have players, you never really get into that situation. When you have players that people want, at least you can consider doing it. And you know, for us, it's all about trying to win a World Series. So we're willing to try to do what it takes to get there.
So speaking of that, you see that Dylan Cease piece. How does that make you feel, and what goes through your mind when you see that kind of stuff?
I think one of the better parts of the winter meetings, we just sit up in the room. I think you guys obviously know we see the tweets come in, and most of them we're laughing at and looking at all different possibilities. Every once in a while, you see somebody go, man, that guy's got pretty good dope, and then we kind of look around the room and go, hey, all scouts, everyone's phone on the table, got to check this out. But,
oh, there's a lot of paranoid right now. Trust me, he's up talking about the Rule 5 draft, people, okay? That's what's fun, the Rule 5 draft. AJ, talk about your path. You know, I've known you since the Ranger days, and I guess you've known me. You were just killing me about the 95 Yankees. How old were you? 95 Yankee playoff games?
17 or 16, 17.
Not that I have any more guilt as it is now. I almost ruined your not even childhood. You think about your path, and you look at all the great jobs you've had that have enriched your ability to do what you're doing. Other than the job you have, what was your favorite job of all the baseball jobs you've had?
Wait, before you answer that, weren't you an intern with the Philadelphia Phillies?
Yes.
Was that one of your very first jobs?
We have a lot of history. I get this internship with the Phillies, and I'm
you can't say internship with the Phillies. Okay.
I'm selling tickets in the you know, in the ticket center down at the old vet, and they let me into a Phillies company fantasy baseball league, and I thought, you know, I've got to try to win this league so that Ruben and, you know, and basically David Montgomery and the group, Ed Wade, I think at the time, would take notice of this, you know, young ticket sales person.
That's pressure.
So I've never known probably professional baseball, big league baseball, better than I knew that summer. I knew who was going into Coors, like what lefties were going to face righties. Like I was as dialed as you could be dialed in to try to get the attention of this guy. It didn't work. I think we got done.
Another mistake I made.
Hired Mike Ondo, and that was it.
You know, talk about pressure. You've got to win that fantasy league. But you know, you look at all the different jobs. That was one of them. But what do you think? Which one prepared you the most? Because you can say just about everything in an organization. I've done that. I've done what you've done. I know the challenges of selling tickets. I used to feel awful when we would lose opening day because it made it tougher to sell tickets. You know. So what's your thoughts?
I've had, you know, it's been you know, super lucky to have all kinds of different experiences. My background, I had a few years at the commissioner's office working with Frank Robinson. And you're working with, you know, a baseball legend, Hall of Famer. And he was just, I've said this a few times, door was open. People used to joke that I didn't have an office because I was in Frank's office all the time. But when a baseball Hall of Famer is every day asking you for your opinion, it, you know, taught you a valuable lesson about like listening to the people that you know, that you work with, and the best ideas can come from anywhere. You know, and again, I've you know, from there I was with the Rangers for 10 years, and actually the Dodgers for 3, and then the Rangers for 10, and so around so many great scouts, so many great baseball minds, and I mean, each experience prepares you for the next one for sure.
Fernando Tatis Jr. AJ is my kid's favorite player, so I got to ask you about him. How is Nando able to elevate in that postseason to a different level?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch, obviously, because he's, you know, obviously been out with you know, for injuries and different things. So to see him on that big stage and, you know, doing what he's able to do, he's a 5-tool talent. He can impact the game every possible way, and he's got great instincts. He's not just like, you know, it's not just physical ability. He's a guy that understands the game well. He grew up in the game. You know, so to, you know, again, like on the field and in the playoff series against, you know, great players from the Braves, great players from the Dodgers, and he was arguably the best player on the field. That's what he's capable of doing every night. We get to see it in San Diego. It's good to see him do that on the national stage.
Do you think he stays? Sorry, I was going to say, do you think he stays in the outfield if Kim ends up moving on? Would you be opposed to moving Tatis?
he's always open to all different possibilities. Again, we talk about it, philosophically, getting athletes and getting two-way players and guys that can play, guys that played shortstop. They usually have the ability to move all over the field. We saw that with Merrill. We've seen that with Profar. We've seen that with our whole infield, Machado and Bogarts and Cronenworth and Kim. Toddy he has the ability to do a lot of things on the field, but ultimately, he's a platinum glove outfielder. That's probably where he's going to stay for a while.
And we're going to have Mike Schilt on here shortly, but talk about Mike Schilt and what he's brought to the table, and the fact that you extended him. What was so special about what he did with your ball club?
He was somebody, honestly, a few years earlier, and I tell the story, even, when I first got here, he was somebody that was kind of on the radar, as, heard a lot of talk about him as just somebody very detail-oriented, somebody that did it, in terms of, he's a guy from an experience standpoint, like Buck talked about, he managed every step of the way from, he's at Johnson City, AA, AAA, big league coach, big league manager, so he's able to draw on a lot of experiences firsthand, he didn't skip any steps at all. He came to our organization, 3 years ago, and he was able to fill, that senior advisor, special advisor role, get around the big league staff and the big league team. So he had experience. He knew our players, our group. He kind of knew our experiences from, losing in the NLCS in 22, and then kind of the disappointing 23 season. I think all those things, like his own personal experience as just being a lifer in baseball and kind of hitting each step in the minor leagues to the big leagues has helped him out. And then being around the Padres, so he had that experience with our players, the ability to see a Machado and Tatis and understand kind of what motivates them and what pushes them. I think that all served him well, and more importantly served us well this year. He's a great manager.
Sure is.
It's amazing to see just the way this whole progression has gone for you, and as far as what you're doing with the Padres. I remember interviewing Daryl Morey years ago when he was the GM of the Rockets, and I said, "How often do you think about dethrowing the Warriors?" And it's all I think about. I'm trying to figure out what their weaknesses are, how to get them. In terms of the Dodgers, it's a great rivalry. It's great for the sport. You've made inroads. You've had success against them. When you're constructing your team, how much of it do you look at AJ saying this would be something that could help neutralize the Dodgers? This would help us in that head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, I think in general, for us, great baseball teams. I think you can't really tailor it as much to, hey, this is. I think when we were in Texas, there was a lot of narrative about, hey, what type of pitchers pitch well in Texas with the jet stream and the heat. It's like, well, great pitchers and guys that have ability to throw strikes and miss, but that plays anywhere, So for us, it's more about the type of team that we think can win a world championship. Obviously we've got the Dodgers, one of the best teams in the game, and they're in our division. It makes us better. The NL West, to me, has been as strong as any division the last 5 years. We've been lucky enough to get to the playoffs, 3 times in that period of time. We've seen the Dodgers all 3 times, so there's a little element of that just throughout the whole division. But more of our conversations is just what leads to championship teams, what that looks like, how you build teams, more big picture standpoint. That's how we look at things.
AJ Preller, President Baseball Operations GM. This is a lot of fun, man. Good to see you. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.